They gave us more room, I guess.
I didn't catch it.
You did good.
And it's a, it's a long way, so.
What?
Elevated a little
Yeah.
bit. The visual.
This is kind of interesting.
All of us,
If you look at their spreadsheet, see down here, the day of the bid, we were only $969,000 over. Did I?
We were only already.
We were already.
We were already. So
Well,
that's what
already,
disturbs me.
But they didn't add in the 703,000. That number. If they added in here, but they didn't add it in here, and it's still left to do.
Yep, yep.
You know?
Yep, well, and then, the piece, I mean, I felt.
Okay, it's 7 o'clock, and we'll call the Barron County Board of Supervisors for Monday, October 17th, 2022 into order, and have roll call and public notification.
Sorry, my computer is just thinking. All right, we're going to start with Carolyn Bartlett.
Here.
Pam Fall.
Here.
Bill Schradel. Gary Taxtell.
Here.
Jim Gores. Gary Nelson.
Here.
Roberta Mosentine.
Here.
Pete Olson. Kathy Krug.
Here.
Carol Moen. Fran Langman. Louis Oki.
Here.
Patty Anderson. Randy Cook.
Here.
Jerry McRoberts. Marv Thompson.
Present.
Bun Hansen. Stacy Wenzel was said that she was going to be absent this evening. And Dana Heller.
Here.
Bob Anderson.
Here.
Stan Buchanan.
Here.
Audrey Kuslik. Here. Bill Efforts.
Here.
Craig Turcott.
Here.
Dale Heinecke.
Here.
Bob Rogers. Diane Vaughn.
Here.
John Banks.
Here.
Terry Lee.
Here.
All right, that has 28 present and 1 absent at this time.
Wendy Coleman, my executive assistant, has complied with Wisconsin open meeting law requirements. Meeting agendas have been posted on electronic meeting notice boards located on the first and second floor of the Government Center and the first floor of the Justice Center. Hard copy of the meeting agenda has been posted in the county clerk's office. She has verified the proper posting of this meeting. This is the October County Board meeting posted on the 13th at 4 p.m.
Pastor Matthew Earls from the Northern Lakes Community Church in Cumberland will give our invocation.
Everyone, please bow your heads. Oh, Heavenly Father, we come before you this evening, God. We petition you for your wisdom, God. We give thanks for your sacrifice that you've given to us and the blood of Jesus Christ that covers and washes us clean. God, we pray that you would give discernment and wisdom and patience and kindness and gentleness, all of the fruits of the Spirit today, God, as county issues are discussed, debated, and just that there would be a heart of transparency here, that there would be a hedge of protection around this facility as our county's government takes place, God. And we just pray for a spirit of peace. We love and we thank you, and it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item number 3, special matters and announcements. None? Okay, item number 4, the agenda. I'd like to actually remove items number 8 and item number 29. 8 is the new highway facility resolution, where we're authorizing unassigned fund balance to cover the improvements. And 29 is a highway facility project, a potential closed session. And the reason I'm asking to remove those, some board members feel that there are more questions to be answered before making a decision on the completion and funding of the highway project. They would like a special board meeting to just decide on that project itself. And we've set one up, if this is agreeable with the board, for November 2nd at 9 a.m. That would just be talking about the highway project and the funding and everything connected with it. And I personally, when I was approached about this, I think more info is good. I want everybody to have all the same information as everybody else. If we have questions and as soon as you have them, I would email them or written questions to Jeff French, our county administrator. You provide them to him. He will answer those questions to the best of his knowledge, and then he will impart the answers to every county board member. So this way, any questions between now and November 2nd, the reason we're taking November 2nd is that it gives 10 business days for people to answer questions, us to ask our contract manager or figure out exactly where we are. I will be talking more about that project before public comment, but right now, I would like a motion to approve the agenda with that removal. Motion by Supervisor Nelson, no. Supervisor Olson, and seconded by Supervisor Nelson. Is there any further discussion on that? No, 9 a.m. It'd be November 2nd at 9 a.m. Okay. Is there any discussion or questions about that agenda and the deletion of those two items? Okay, if not, all.
I have a question. Why at 9 o'clock in the morning? There's a lot of people at work. Why don't we have it in the evening?
It's fine with me too. I was getting direction from other than myself. So
I would like to
I would
amend
think
that.
5 o'clock would be a good time, and that way it's a good suggestion, Gary. That way everybody, they don't have to take off work, and if they want to be there, they can be there. Because I can imagine we'll have I probably have an open session. I'm trying not to have closed sessions with these things because I want transparency. I want the public and everybody to know what we're talking about. Supervisor Olson? Okay, so it'd be 5 o'clock on November 2nd. Gary or Supervisor Nelson, is that okay with you? Okay. Any other suggestions, comments, or questions? Okay, if not, all in favor of that motion, deleting items number 8 and 29 and having a special board meeting on November 2nd at 5 p.m., indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. If against that, say no. Okay, the motion's carried. Thank you. Item number 5, approve the minutes of the September 12th, 2022 board meeting. Motion by Supervisor Anderson, seconded by Supervisor Langman. Is there any concerns or questions on those? If not, all those in favor of passing those minutes indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by the same sign. Motion's carried. Okay, item number 6, public comment. I do have 7 of them, and based on what I said earlier, those 7 people are certainly entitled to speak, but I had this prepared before we actually decided to do that. We understand, the board does, and I do, and regret this highway project overage. Based on what we know now, possibly mismanagement of this project is present. What we do know is we had a great interest rate. We purchased materials ahead of time to avert supply chain issues and control inflation. We supposedly had fixed contracts, but the State Historical Society Committee delayed some of them, but I still don't have all the answers from our contract managers as to why we have the other overages. We have a good highway fund balance to cover the overage. I realize that's taxpayer money, but I'm very happy that our highway department and our commissioner has done the job they've done to create that fund balance, and that fund balance is for things like this, and storms and floods and overages and snow, but this one would apply. We can handle the overage without borrowing or raising taxes. Hindsight's 2020. We have a problem and we will solve it. We have a plan going forward, which will be discussed throughout the time period and then fully at the board meeting on November 2nd. Since we are discussing that on the 2nd, the public may want to hold off on their comments, but you certainly don't need to. You can do it twice if you want, or not at all. But please do not attack our county employees, and please do not repeat comments already made. If it has been said, just say that. So, thank you. And on that, the first public comment will be Terry Sullivan. Would you come to the podium in the middle there, Terry, and state your name and address and tell us what's on your mind?
I don't want arrows.
I don't talk like that.
You push that button in the middle there.
The light's on.
Good.
Terry Sullivan, 1475 7.5 Avenue, Barron. Actually Hillsdale, but Barron address. I just have a couple of comments. I wanted to come to this meeting to find out more about the highway shop and the overruns. And it looks like we're gonna have to wait till the 2nd for that. But one of my concerns is, how can the whole county board not know what was happening on the project? How can the executive committee not know what's happening on the project? How can the department head not know? And how can the management firm not know how the overruns took place? I've done projects most of my career, and I would be fired. If I came to leadership and said, oh, we're $4 million over on this project, they would say, you're coming to me right now and telling me you're $4 million over? Why weren't you coming to me when you were thinking that you were going to be $100,000 over or $10,000 over? I just think, who was managing this project? And who was managing the person that was managing the project? There should be oversight all the way through. We met weekly on our projects. If there was going to be any kind of overrun, we knew it ahead of time. So I just think there needs to be accountability, and I'm glad that you brought that up, that there, hopefully there is going to be some type of accountability for that type of overrun without knowing ahead of time. That just, to me, that's beyond my understanding. So thank you.
I could have gave the same speech even though I'm not supposed to comment to you. Bruce Green.
Well, you covered most of what I was going to bring up, but also I was just going to say that, you know, I appreciate you guys' time and energy you put in, but there is something
Identify
wrong
yourself,
here.
please.
Oh, I'm sorry, Bruce Green, 1229 21st Street, Cameron. But I guess in a lot of contracts that I've seen and worked in or whatever, that there's a penalty for work not being completed on time, and failure usually incurs a penalty, usually of cash money. So I'm just, you know, just the way this whole financial thing worked out, it seems kind of shady. That's all.
Thanks, Bruce. Dave Jones.
I'm Dave Jones from 928 Yorkshire Avenue in Rice Lake. I'm going to change the subject a little bit here. I'm talking about the acid gas removal system for the incinerator. 29 years ago, I started working there, and I've seen a lot of good ideas come, a lot of good ideas go, a lot of bad ideas come and go. A lot of the good ideas made us move forward, helped us move forward. And the county has always, you know, it's always been a county-owned facility, but it was privately managed. Now the county has taken over management on it 7-8 years ago. And we've had a lot of good ideas since then. We put up a new stack, truck scale. We've bought a couple new front end loaders. We have put in a $250,000 water treatment system that I'm proud to say I was key in building. Public dump site, lower chamber back ends, we've rebuilt them, we've re-leveled the boilers. And these are all ideas that were good ideas and that moved us forward. This acid gas removal system is another one of those good ideas that will move this place forward and not leave us stagnant and just going with the flow. This project has the ability to make this facility even better for Barron County than it has in the past. And I realize it is a huge investment, but everything that I've seen come and go in the past, this is another one of them good ideas that I think you really need to take a good hard look at and consider. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Walter Herman?
Walter Herman, 1708 12 and 3/4 Street, Barron, Wisconsin, 54812. I am here to commend the chair, first of all, for his comment of being transparent. Last meeting, somebody said to go into closed session. You said, no, it's time we stand up and show our face and talk about it to the public. Thank you very much for that, and continue that. That is awesome. And thank you for Mr. Sullivan. He cut my speech in half here at least, but I will. And thanks for mentioning not to repeat herself. But I will say this, adding to that, to be more transparent, that we need to hire an independent auditor and investigator unrelated to anyone here that would show the taxpayers' original bids and how many bids, all signed contracts, and much more, all in detail, start until right now. Because there's been mess ups here, and it sounds like you guys know it. And was there any persons in Barron County Management Board members related actually to this company here that put the bids? It's a question well to be known, because if there was, that's a potential to the problem, which would be definitely a conflict of interest, and who knows? You can only use your imagination after that. Yes, it would cost money. I understand that. But at this point in time, after $4.5 million, I think the taxpayers already are losing a lot of money. But we hopefully will be able to recover some of the portion of that, or maybe all of it, hopefully, at the end of the day. And that's what we're trusting you folks all to do. And we deserve answers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Walter. Dennis Rochel?
Dennis Rochelle, 1228 18th Street, Barron, 54812. Walter and Mr. Sullivan said a lot, so I'm not going to go over that again. But as you said, Mr. Chairman, taking money out, robbing from Peter to pay Paul isn't going to be the solution here. As a taxpayer, I moved up here to retire and retired. I want to see my tax money being on a fixed income used wisely. And being that you're going to be open about this, that's very, very good. I'd just like the rest of you to know, I'm a third-generation electrician, a family-owned business started in the 30s by my grandfather. We're still around. We didn't sit there and hide. And some of this stuff that's apparently been going on shouldn't even have happened. So please, keep open with the people here. Thank you.
Thank you. Bruce Willers.
Good evening. Bruce Willers, 529 North Main Street in Rice Lake. I come before you tonight because I've been attending some of the meetings here, whether it's the steering committee meetings or the executive meetings or the whole board meetings. And I would like to take the words of the chair who said that we should treat and not make accusations against individuals that are serving us and our elected officials on the board. Well, I'd like to let you know that after the official board meeting of the last one that you had, not the steering committee, but the board, that one of the elected officials did threaten to do something to me on behalf. And I'm here to tell you that you know whom you are, and other individuals had heard it that were standing, that are elected officials, and I won't tolerate that behavior either. And moving on from that point, I'd like to talk about the insurance that you're going to renew tonight. I know we're not able to speak during the meeting, but I hope that you would address, some of our elected officials would address other steering committee members on the executive committee or whoever approved the insurance process, why the county official employees are not contributing any money into the payment of the increase of insurance. And then also, I have concerns under item number 14, the resolution that you're going to pass in regards to renovation of the old county jail for Meals on Wheels kitchen. I believe until at which time that you can show the taxpayers of Barron County what went awry with the building process over on the highway committee, that you should take and table or postpone that decision until at which time other individuals can really be accountable to run a project of that kind of money. And I assume a remodel like that is going to be over $1 million with kitchen facilities. So I would ask that you would table that until we can find out exactly what went wrong. The other thing I would ask is that if CBS management is at fault, that you take and release them of their agreement, their working agreement, and that you use the bond issue money to hire outside companies and so forth to finish the Barron County Highway Department. And I believe that's prudent under the fact that if they are, and I'm not saying they are, but if you are the ones that know the answers, that they are accountable for this overage, that you release them immediately and you take the bond money, and it's a bonded project, and you hire an outside firm to finish the work. Thank you.
Thank you. Jim Swenson.
I'm Jim Swenson, 1127 East LaSalle, Barron, Wisconsin. I too came to talk about this county highway project. I think everybody's hit that so far tonight, so I'm not going to dwell on that. I'd asked for a copy of the contract from Administrator French, and I received a 3.25-page agreement, of which I informed him, and then he said he would CC my request to your corporate counsel, Mr. Minch. I've yet to see that contract. I'm hoping that agreement isn't the contract. Anyway, I was going to ask you all tonight, and I'll still ask you on November 2nd to vote no on going ahead and paying this out of separate funded money. It's not the time to use an excuse of emergency to cover up individuals' responsibility. It's time to ask questions and reevaluate to move this forward. I've noticed since coming here for a couple months now that there's not nearly enough questions asked. We sat here for the executive committee meeting about budget, about raises, about insurance, and there were only about 3 people that spoke that night. That's not nearly enough questions. We depend on more questions from the other 28 of you. I did get a quick look at Mr. French's budget. I don't know how a CPA could get through that. I really don't get it. These expenditures are totals and they don't give you line items. The last thing I want to touch on in the minute 22, I was the guy that brought up the issue with the Barron County Review, the ADRC paper. You know, I spent about 3 hours trying to determine, reading statutes, if this was a 501c3 or not. I couldn't tell. I popped in here the next morning and noticed that Mr. French was in trying to find out the same answers. I don't know if he could tell either. Fact remains, it doesn't matter. There's enough county money involved with the distribution of this paper with subscriptions that are paid right here at this address to show onus. The masthead in here even says, this is your own masthead. Contact us for a free confidential consultation to get unbiased information about local resources. Okay? I don't know if any of you have even picked it up and looked at it yet. Seems like we got a lot more on the burners right now. Okay? One good thing is I did contact Congressman Tiffany's office, Senator Johnson's office, and they will be submitting their monthly newsletter to all of these papers in their district. I think it's really a good position. Once again, it's all going to start right here in Barron County. We seem to be the tip of the spear.
Thank you, Jim.
You bet.
Okay, item number 7, progress update on the highway facilities. Mark Survey, our highway commissioner.
Good evening.
Evening.
So obviously, construction is continuing. Jody, if you have them pictures up, this is just some shots that were taken today by CBS Squared around the facility. First one that was up was the cable wiring starting to get laid in for the computer systems. Next one, Jody, please. View down the hallway from the main crew entrance down to the parts room, or to the mechanics area rather, excuse me. Next one. That is a crew room right now. You can see the cabinets are starting to get installed. The ceiling has been painted black because that has a, it's a cloud system similar to this, but not quite the same. The ceilings are at different heights to help absorb noise when you're having meetings and things. So you can kind of see up between some of the ceiling panels. So that's why that ceiling is painted black. Next one, please. Just the other part of the crew room that was in part of that other picture. You can go forward. That is a break room in the office area. That's the next one is the hallway between the main hall where the crew would come in and down to administration. Next one, please, Jody. That is the highway conference room where committee meetings and other meetings will be held. That's the administration area. There's desk and support stuff in there for 3 people. That would be the main point of contact for individuals coming into the building, will be that area. That's the mail room. Copy room is what that one is. It's kind of a narrow hall with cabinets on both sides, and then on the right-hand side will be the copying machine and paper shredder, that kind of stuff. That's just a view of one of the administrative offices. I can't tell from this picture if that's operations manager, engineering tech, or commissioner's office. I can't tell. And that's down the hall from administration back to the parts room. Next one, please. That is the parts room. That's where all of our equipment for repairs, all of the parts and stuff that we need will be stored on shelving. That's the mechanical room upstairs. That's your boiler systems, heating systems, and a lot of the controls for the other systems in the building. That's the view from the mezzanine over the parts room, looking out towards the sign shop, would be on the far end where the crane, you can see the yellow, that's the overhead crane. And that's the view from the other side from the mezzanine on top of the sign shop. So you can see what's going on. The focus is kind of in the administration area and the service area, the equipment service area. What we call the administration area is area B, area A rather. Area B is what we refer to as the parts room, and then the mechanics area. That's the focus right now. The goal is that we're going to try to be into area A
the week of November 7th. Area B, the mechanics are hoping to move that the week of, the last week in October. But it sounds like the gas connection is, We Energies ran line in last week, and it sounds like they may be later that week, so that might impact when the mechanics can move. And then the next one, Jody, that's the heated storage. That is right now scheduled for us to occupy the week of deer season, 21st of November. Everybody will be here, right, Larry? So, and then that's that last shot there is the brine room. That's that. There's going to be a brine maker in there where you dump salt into a vessel, and it automatically influences water and mixes until you get to a certain salinity, and then it gets put into the storage bins, and then we use that for our pre-wetting and for storm control, ice control. So the last one is a view over the top of that too. You can kind of see the lean-to out the back there, that space that's created for storage also. So there's a lot of movement now. That's building unheated too. The foundation work on that. In the upper, well, kind of middle right hand, you can see the 3 concrete walls. That's intended to be material storage for winter, things like small quantity of gravel, cold mix patch material that we would have minimally heated so that we would be able to have something that's not frozen to work with if we have emergencies. And we patch quite a bit over the winter time, so that'll help us. I think that's it, Jody. Right? Okay. So there's a lot of moving pieces going on. Like now, as I said, the gas hookup is one that could impact our schedule. Erickson is back on the site now. I believe we're moving in this afternoon. They're supposed to start tomorrow morning on working on some more of the grading. And lastly, to the county board and to any of the citizens that would be interested, we're going to have a tour of the facility on next Monday afternoon, which is the 24th. We will do that at 4:30 in the afternoon. We want to do that while there's still some daylight around, because if you get outside the building, we want to make sure that you can see and not stumble over things. So next Monday, the 24th at 4:30, please meet kind of in the area over by our existing office. You'd be able to park over in there, and we can go into the heated storage area, and we can take you through on a tour. So if anybody's interested in that, certainly welcome to come.
Does anybody have any questions of Mark? Go ahead, Bill.
Go ahead, Bill.
Bill, you want to talk into your mic so that the public can hear you?
At one point, did you tentatively see there was something going awry here? You have any idea, remember? Or some inclination, maybe you didn't know for sure?
I'd say we're probably about the time of that June meeting.
Okay.
We had asked, going back in our notes, we had asked for tracking of contract change orders. I don't have that in front of me, but I want to say that was in.
It was actually in July, because that's the first time I came to a highway facilities building meeting because we thought something was fishy.
Yeah, but we started asking questions about the contract change orders at the committee level. I'm stuck because I can't remember if it was January or February or November of last year and then into this year. So that doesn't mean that we were concerned. We were just wanting to make sure we were staying on track.
Follow-up to that, did they, when you ask them or talk to them about it, did they have anything definitive to say, or they just kind of stalled you off or said, well?
They made reports to the committee. So.
Yeah. Go ahead, Randy, or Supervisor Cook, excuse me.
Mark, what is the tentative project completion? I know you have stages of moving in and able to use. When are we projected to be finished?
According to the schedule, which is going to be very much subject to weather in the spring of the year because you can't pave on frozen grounds, that type of stuff. They're tentatively projecting around the late May, around the 19th. That's what his schedule shows.
And how does that compare to what the projected move-in date was at the time of the contract acceptance?
We would have been in the building now.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, Bill?
Yeah, what, are you gonna have a place, and I know this is important because you have to plow all the state roads plus the county roads. You gonna have a place to put these trucks, you got what, 25, 30 of them or whatever? Place to put them where it's fairly warm?
That's the heated storage area that we're looking to occupy the week of deer season. So that doesn't take a lot to move into. That's just driving the trucks in. The other stuff is a lot of moving parts to get things moved.
Supervisor Banks?
On that previous question about moving in, you planned to be in originally now.
Yeah.
And what was the problem to delay it until May of next year? What were the issues?
The largest part of that was the historical stuff that was encountered. That caused.
That stuff that's called SHPO, it's on the spreadsheet.
The SHPO.
Well, explain that a little bit better. What were the historical issues?
There was buildings on the grounds that had been marked by the Historical Society as being old and noteworthy. My understanding is that they're supposed to notify you when they're listed. Our buildings were listed, it appears around 2011. We never received any notification. Okay. So then when you go from that forward to when we built the fuel system on the west side of the road, we took buildings down over there that were actually the oldest buildings that we had. We obtained a stormwater permit, which is the permit that you need to do your grading on the project. You know, if you have to do infiltration ponds or how you're going to handle stormwater, that type of thing. Nothing flagged when we did that project. Subsequently, when we did this project, and CBS Squared filled out the paperwork for the stormwater permit and sent it in, we got a subsequent email back. I believe it was the 15th of March, saying that there was historical buildings on site and they needed a mitigation plan. So that started the delay because first we couldn't do any grading, then they allowed us to separate the east part of the site off from the west part of the site. We worked on the west part of the site while we were going through all of the historical mitigation things that we needed to do.
So that would add to the expense of it?
Delays that cause slippage in schedule are gonna result in higher wages for employees. Contracts change. Material prices sometimes can change. A lot of the material that we bought wasn't affected by that, such as the structural steel, you know, those elements. But the things that were concrete, the slippage in the schedule opens you up to having to pay more for that material.
Thank you.
Supervisor Olson?
Mark, would you speak to the fact that the SHPO was referred to, the historical piece pushed the schedule off 4 or 5 months, but that pushed some of the more significant parts of construction into the winter, which then the weather pushed out. That's why we're off as far as we are.
That's correct, yes. You know, when you looked at it, okay, now the schedules slide. The contractors have their own schedules. So let's use the precast walls as an example. From when we were originally going to set those to when we started to set them was in the middle of January, middle to the end of January. They were originally scheduled to be setting that wall, you know, late summer, early fall. Then as the site became available to them, you know, they had they have to keep going. They're not just going to sit and wait for us. So other projects get slid into the schedule and then we get pushed back.
Supervisor Hanson? Supervisor Moen?
I have a question. How does one find out whether a building has been designated by the Historical Society? Normally, what's the procedure?
There's a website, and it's my understanding that you need to have access to that website. Does that, Stan, you might know a little bit more about that. That's my understanding.
Stan, would you talk into your mic there, please?
I think you do have to have access, but I think you get that access through an archaeologist.
Mhm.
Okay, Supervisor Langman?
What percentage do you think we're done right now, complete?
Roughly 80 total project?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Supervisor Cook?
You had mentioned, Mark, that our mitigation plan for SHPO, we were notified in March. When did we submit our completed plan, and who was responsible for that plan?
The 15th, I received an email from DNR indicating that we needed to address this issue. That was subsequently forwarded the same day to the folks at CBS Squared. Chad Oster from CBS Squared responded to the email to the DNR on the 17th of March. That started everything rolling. And then it was a long, protracted negotiation. I think don't hold me to this date, please, Mr. Cook, but I believe that we got our final grading permit around like the 17th of August, if I remember correctly. But we did have some opportunity in there, like then they said, okay, well, you have these other buildings, you can tear those down, but you can't do anything below the ground because you don't have your stormwater permit. We couldn't take anything out of the main highway facility because that was really the only historical building that was left. So that was the one that we had to do the mitigation plan for.
And wasn't it, Mark, that you actually had a plan for a lot of the stuff at that site, and the mitigation plan that the state came up with pretty much mirrored what we were going to do anyway, but it still took that long. Supervisor Anderson?
This might seem like a minor point, but what happens to any excess concrete that's not used, not poured?
Well, back in the day when I was building bridges, you tried to keep that as limited as possible. But, so typically I'm going to say there's not a lot of waste in those trucks, but they wash the chutes out of the truck, and if there's anything left, they take it back to where it was made, and they generally dump that in a pile and then crush it later.
And the reason I'm asking is one of my constituents, which I was happy that somebody called me, has some photos of on the site, there's bird baths being poured and also some deer forms being poured in concrete. And it's in front of the V&S trailer. And I wondered.
Yeah, the concrete would belong to whatever contractor is doing that work.
Okay, and are they doing it on the time that they should be working on the building?
We don't have, our contract isn't, it's a set contract for like concrete pours is by the square, okay, by the square yard. So however long it takes them, if that's what they're doing with the waste, that's their business.
Okay, but we were billed for it.
No, well, you're billed by the square yard.
Okay.
So if they order extra concrete, when I was a contractor, I always anticipated that my projects were going to run about 7% over on concrete.
Okay.
Okay, because of the unevenness of ground and things of that nature. Now, whether that's just what I did. I don't know what other people did.
Okay, and I ask questions because I need to be educated, and I appreciate your answer. Thank you.
Supervisor Banks?
We just went through a pandemic issue. Did that have an effect on the entire project?
We had contractor crews that were sick. We had time periods where people didn't work because parts of their crews were sick, and given the quarantine stuff that was in place at that time, people You know, if you were exposed, you weren't supposed to be around and that type of stuff. So there was an impact. I don't know that that you'd ever be able to put a definitive, you know, it was a 3-day or a 5-day or a 2-week. I don't know how you'd do that.
Any further questions? Okay, thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work. Item number 9, health insurance. We've got Tim Deaton from Horton Group. Tim, you're up. Is your mic on there, Tim?
Sorry about that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Tim Deaton. I'm with the Horton Group. We are the broker consultant for the county and working with you on the insurance. And today I've got a packet that we're going to go through the cost, the renewals, and then our Health Joy program. Our agenda today has our 2022 claims report. It has our PBA and Anthem admin renewal. We've got our 2023 stop loss marketing results along with our specific stop loss analysis. We then have our 2023 plan year renewal projection, our 2023 dental renewal, our Health Joy program renewal, and then lastly, an opt-out cash in lieu benefit program. If we go to page 2 in the packet, it's a pretty busy report, and I think I shared this back in the spring, but I'll walk you through how the report is laid out. We'll start in the upper left-hand corner where we have the plan report parameters. Our medical administrator, our prescription drug administrator, our current reinsurance carrier, our specific stop loss level deductible, and then our contract terms on that stop loss. In the middle, we have our current fixed fees for all those related services that I just mentioned. And then over on the right, we've got the funding rates. These are our budgeted rates for 2022. In the middle, again, pretty busy box, but this is what we call our loss ratio report. Shows us how we're running compared to budget. So we've got monthly totals going across the sheet. And on the left, we've got fixed cost. So these are all of our fixed programs that we have with the health insurance. Our first is medical administration. Second is our stop loss premiums. And then we have our transplant coverage, those premiums. So those are our fixed fees. And then we add those up on a monthly basis. In the middle, as a self-funded health plan, we pay as we go. So we pay claims on a monthly basis. So you're going to see in each of those rows, you're going to see the medical paid claims, the prescription drug paid claims, and then any stop loss reimbursements. And those are claims over that $50,000 specific level. In the middle there in blue, we've got the total variable cost. And then we add that to the fixed fees, which will give you the total plan cost. Next to that is the enrollment. So those are our monthly enrollments in each row with the total contract. And then they will look at the funding and loss ratio. So we take those contracts, we bump it up against the employee and family rates, giving us a monthly funding total. So much like you'd see in a checkbook, we take the monthly funding, we subtract the total plan cost, and that will give us a monthly loss ratio. Anything over 100 is obviously running over budget. Anything below 100% is running below budget. On the bottom, on the far left, we've got our key indicators. These are our average enrollments, employee, employee spouse, employee child, and full family enrollments, and then a total enrollment average at the bottom. In the middle is kind of our running average. As we saw in the upper right-hand corner, we're at 101.8 loss ratio. And in the middle kind of shows you those numbers. As of claims through August, we're running about $67,000 over budget. And then if you look at the other column on the other box on the far right, that is going to be your average fixed cost per employee per year at the top. And then we add the variable cost that would be obviously fixed We have fixed plus the variable, which is claims, and then gives us a total cost per employee per year at that $21,770.
Tim, can you take questions as we go?
Yeah, if that's best for
Supervisor
you.
Cook.
So I see the employee cost. What does insurance cost the employee? I know what it's going to cost us. Is there a deductible? What's the employee's cost? This is our cost. What is their cost?
Their cost is their out-of-pockets, and then their premiums. I don't have those exact premiums in front of me, but they pay a monthly percentage of the funding rates.
They pay $100, family $50 for a single, but Rachel, our HR director, she can give you the deductibles and the co-pays. She should be able to do that off the top of her head. I think she's in the audience.
Rachel, do you want to come down to stand by Tim there?
That'd be $5,200 out of pocket. 4,000 plus 1,200 is 5,200. Plus you'd have the 600 for single plus whatever the out of pocket maximum would be.
So the deductible has to be reached first before.
Yes, we have a high deductible health plan, so the deductible has to be reached first before the 4,000 kicks in.
Correct. Thank you.
Questions answered? Okay. Thanks, Rachel.
We're walking down,
Supervisor Taxtell.
Wondering, did we look at a higher stop loss than 50,000?
We did. There's a, in the packet, we'll go through that.
Okay, all right. And the premiums, is it 90-10% on the percentage for the 90% is the county and 10% is the employee? Is it split up on percentages or flat rates?
I believe it's flat rate, right, Jeff?
For the premiums?
Premiums?
That's correct, flat rate.
Was it ever percentages?
It used to be prior to Act 10.
It's 13% for our union group, and then there is a wellness incentive in place for flat dollar.
So in other words, when the premiums go up, the flat rate is not shared, but the percentage is shared?
Correct, but we also had, if we sat here a few years ago, and 80%, 86% total loss ratio. We just have a bad year because we've paid, last time I did the numbers, I think about 46% of the total spend was for high-cost claims. About 28 or 32 high-cost claims made a lot of, maybe Tim can give you more specifics. I don't have that right in front of me. This year, we faced high-cost claims that we haven't in the past few years. That's why it's up so high.
Was that before self-funded that we had the?
No, that's when we were self-funded. We've had many good years. This is our first bad year of being self-funded.
All right, thanks.
Supervisor Bartlett?
I got a question on the total cost per employee per year. So is that one insured person, or is that like if it's a family, it's everyone? That's just an average, that's number of employees for Barron County, but many more insured.
Yes, we have employees, and then we have covered members.
Yep.
So this is just basically taking our total cost, dividing by the 255 to 257 that have been on the plan.
Employees.
Employees.
Okay. How many covered members do we have? Do you know that?
Last count was 654.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Any further questions? Craig? If it's a green light,
just a
this.
question is if it's an individual and their spouse has insurance elsewhere, is there a kickback or anything to the employee for not putting their spouse on?
Yes, for a management confidential, we pay $400 a month if you opt out. If you're single, we pay $100 a month, $200 a month if you opt out. So yes, we do allow opt out for management confidential. And that brings a good point up. We've been talking with Tim since about June or July about expanding the opt-out for 2023. It's built in the budget to allow the opt-out, but we're rethinking that because we don't know exactly where that's going to come out. So my thought was expand the opt-out to everybody and see if that would save us money on the 22,700, you know, it's costing us about $8,000 per person to have this insurance, and Tim's going to get to that. So we're thinking about that, Craig. We just don't know where it's going to end up. We can make that decision on 11/7 or make no decision because it's budget neutral. I haven't budgeted it either way. On Tim's recommendation, if we allow the opt-out, give us a whole year to see if it's actual savings. If not, we'll back off. So what
Supervisor
also, can I
Gusley?
just, can I make one more
Oh,
point,
yeah, go
please?
ahead.
If I will also make one more point, what's also happening, board members who've been on this county board know that there's a real shift amongst the private businesses to shift people off of their insurance onto county or others. So many of the employers now in Barron County actually charge you if you do not take. They charge you if you have access to health insurance and you take their health insurance, they charge you a premium over and above because you didn't shift to your employer's health insurance. So that's going on as well.
Supervisor Gusley?
Do we offer the same type of an opt-out for situations where we have two husband and wife working for the county?
That's a question for, no, we do not. Rachel says we do not. Yeah, both spouses would be eligible because we're employer in excess of 250 employees.
But if their spouse works someplace else, they could get money on an opt-out.
If they're management confidential. If they're not, then we don't offer the opt-out. But we're thinking about it. It's built in the budget to offer it.
Any further questions this time? Okay, keep going, Tim.
All right, thank you. Page 3. So this is our admin renewal and network renewal from PBA and Anthem. Let's see, there you go. Obviously, we had a little slight increase in the TPA fee, but we got Anthem to increase their RX rebate offset by about $8. So in the end, our admin costs are decreasing about 5%. Annual change is just a little south of $5,000. If no questions, I'll move on to page 4. So this page oh, there you go. Thank you. These are the stop loss, I guess, rates that we received from the market. We went out to about 20 carriers, and I'll show you the list that we went out to. We got 3 bids back, which kind of goes back to our conversation that we had in the spring, is that at 50,000, we're just not getting a response from the market and an appetite for your group. But we were lucky enough to have Voya, which is one of our A-rated companies and one that we have business with, to come back and give us a competitive renewal or competitive bid on our renewal at that 11.5%. Our current carrier, HCC Tokyo Marine, gave us a 40% increase, and I think they've had some obviously claims this year. So they made the decision to give us a larger increase than probably what I've seen in the marketplace. We do have a rate cap in place of 50%, so they didn't quite go that high, but it's still 40% is definitely above what I've seen in the market. Market average on increases for stop loss is at 15%. So with that Voya, we're below the market. But the only other carrier that came back was Anthem, and they were at almost 29%, that 28.75. If there's no questions, I'll move on to page 5. So this is our carrier list that we went out to, and I believe it's about 19. As you can see, we got a lot of declines. And I think when I was here in May, we talked about that. When we have claims that exceed probably 5 over the specific stop loss, that's when the carriers will start, putting more of that increase back on you. And that's probably what's happening with HCC. Voya obviously was not afraid of the business. They obviously came back with a very competitive offer. And, from my perspective, we're going to recommend moving to Voya. But I think for the future, if we turn to page, and unless there's any questions here, we'll turn to
I have
page.
a question.
Absolutely.
So if we had a higher stop loss amount, would we get as many declines?
I would say we'd have to increase it pretty high,
Like 100,000?
at least 100.
Okay.
We didn't get.
Get an analysis on the next page, too.
Next page, it was.
Sorry.
No, not a problem. Those are good questions. So we basically got, 65, 75, and 85, from Voya. That was obviously our most competitive. So at that 50,000, the fixed premium went up 11.53. And then at the various levels, we got some savings. At 65, little over 1%. At 75, almost 8. And at 85, it's probably 18%. So we show you where the annual stop loss premiums would have fallen at that level. We then look at, the savings, the premium savings that we would get from making that move. And then because we're taking on more risk, we bumped it up historically, and we used, a full year of claims. So we just looked at, 2021 and bumped that up against, where we were at. And the impact change to the deductible on the bottom is all costs that would come back to the county. So there was no savings at 85. We'd have to go to at least 100. And I think when I was here in May, we talked about, up at your level, at your size, the area they'd like to see you is at that 125. So I think we're okay for this year, but I think next year, 100 or 125 is something we're going to have to consider just to drive a little bit more competition. I've got other groups that are a little bit higher, Wood County's at, 100,000, and we had probably 4 or 5 carriers that came back. So I think we're good for this year. I mean, I hate to pay more in premium, but I don't want to take on, the risk at that level. We'd have to go to 100,000. That's just a lot of unknown, and I just don't think it would be prudent to make the jump this year.
So what's the time frame of when we do this? When we go out looking for quotes? If we increase?
Yeah.
Every year, what time of the year do we do this?
We do it late August into September.
Okay. So we're locked in by October or whatever.
Yeah. Any other questions on page 6? Okay. Move on to page 7 here. We have our fully insured transplant policy with HCC, and we're okay to say with HCC, even though we're leaving them on the stop loss, so there's no problem there. This is a fully insured plan that would protect the county in case we had a member that was going to have an organ transplant. It's first dollar coverage. It doesn't hit the stop loss, and you get rate stop loss reduction or discount by putting this in place because we're taking risk off of the reinsurer and putting it on this fully insured policy. Our annual specific premium to have this is about $55,000, a little over $55,000, and we get about 4% savings from the reinsurance carriers to put this in place. So it's not 100% dollar for dollar in some instances, but it definitely is nice to have in place because in our world, organ transplants are still a real high cost ticket item and can lead to lasers and can lead to increase in premium that for a group your size can really cause budget issues, as we go forward. Let's move on to page 8 unless there's any other questions. So this is a pretty busy page as well. This is our actuarial steps that we take to help, plan for risk and look at the renewal impact that we would have, for the upcoming year. So we have 2 experience periods. We've got the most recent, at that September of 2021 through August of 2022. And then the one on the left is going to be September 2020 through August of 2021. So I'm going to walk you through the 12 lines here. So in those given experience periods, line 1 are the claims that we had. Those are medical and prescription drug claims. In line 2, we then remove any of those stop loss reimbursements. And you can see in our latest experience period, we're up, almost 400,000, 500,000 in just reimbursements. So our high cost claims were definitely in the most recent 12 months have been higher than the previous. Line 3 is line 1 with the catastrophic claims in line 2 removed. Line 4 is trend. So claims that were incurred or paid in the past need to be moved forward because of medical inflation. They're going to cost more, into 2023. So we're going to apply a 7% trend factor to both periods, and that gives you line 5. Line 6 are any plan or network changes or adjustments. We have not made any, so that just remains flat. And then 7 is the same as line 5 because we've made no plan adjustments. Line 8 is employee months, the number of employees in the number of months in the experience period. So what we're trying to do is get to a per employee per month rate, and that's what line 9 is. So it's line 7 divided by line 8 gives you line 9 projected per employee per month claim rate. We then weight each, obviously with just 2, we weighted them equally at 50%. That gives you line 11. And then we combine those on line 12 to give you a projected per employee per month claim rate. So that 1291, it's multiplied by 12. And then if we switch over to page 9.
What's the weight? The 50% weight, what's that all about?
Well, I mean, if we, and we'll, as we go forward, we typically like to use 3 years, but since we're kind of in the, the early parts of self-funded for the county, we don't have full 3 years, so we weight them equally. I think if I were to come back next year, it would probably be 60, 30, 10. So we're going to weight the most recent one a little bit higher, but because we only have 2 years, kind of just played it down the middle. So we moved that 1291 to the top of line, or top of the page 9. So multiply that by 12, that gives us 15,561 cents for a per employee per year claim rate. So all of these lines are going to be on a per employee basis. So that 355, that's going to be our administration on a per employee per year rate. We then have our network access discount share. That's our network access fee on a per employee per year basis. We do have our RX admin fees. And then we've included the stop loss from Voya at that 11.48, 11.5. And then the transplant at that 216. Adding all those lines up, we get to a per employee per year plan cost of $23,559. Based upon our current enrollment, that would show a projected expense for 2023 at that $6,031,238. We then bump that up against the 2022 budgeted numbers of that $5.5 million, and that gives us an increase of 9.64, or if we calculate that in dollars, 531 or 30,393.
And this page 9 is what you're going to be asked to approve when it comes to 9B for the health insurance renewal.
What have you?
Gary?
Excuse me. He's not recognizing. I can ask as many
Go ahead,
questions
Gary.
as I
You got carte
want to, right?
blanche.
What have you seen out in the market as far as percentage increases? Is this pretty reasonable?
Yeah, I would say pretty reasonable. Taylor County got a 19% increase. Washburn had 19 as well.
And they're not self-funded, I
They're
think.
fully insured. Yeah, I would say the self-funded, this year has been pretty high for fully insured. And I would say that the stop loss market, average is 15, but I've seen most of the groups coming in at 23, 24% on the stop loss. So you're definitely below what I've seen. The 9% is pretty competitive.
I'm kind of surprised. Thank you.
Page 10. Apologize for the small print, but this is our dental renewal. We have a high plan and a low plan, obviously choice. 2% increase. I think market average is about 5, so we're definitely below the market average. So very, very good dental renewal on that one.
Dental is paid 100% by the employee. The county does not pay any dental for employees.
Page 11 is HealthJoy. HealthJoy is our patient or employee engagement app that we have. And the programs that they offer, they've got a navigation platform. They've got urgent telemedicine. They also do bill review. And one of the programs that we've added recently is musculoskeletal care, where they are able to work with a physical therapist to help with any musculoskeletal issues they may have. The idea around HealthJoy is that they're going to provide navigation, they're going to provide access to providers, telephonically, and try to keep them out of the physician's office and do things remotely. They're also going to help them navigate the healthcare space and help them find high quality and value providers. So it's been really popular, I think, from an engagement perspective. You guys are probably one of the higher groups that we have utilizing HealthJoy. Horton Group, we use it as well, and my family has used it for kids that are off at college and for just acute care when it comes to trying to avoid urgent care, ER, or just being more prudent on your time and making it easy to access healthcare. They have a renewal here of 3%. If we were to sign a 2-year contract, they would remove that 3% increase. And it was our recommendation that based on the way the program's working, the amount of savings that we're seeing and the engagement that your members are utilizing, it has definitely been a valued, offering, especially when you're self-funded, because a dollar save is truly a dollar saved. We're not paying fully insured premiums to a carrier. Barron County, quite frankly, under $50,000 is the insurance company. Pretty high. I think it's in the 80s for sure.
Are we doing the 2-year?
Yes, exec approved the 2-year contract renewal at 0%.
Okay.
The full board will have to approve the rest of the recommendations.
We can go to page 14. Yeah.
Cost per employee?
Pardon me?
Cost per employee.
Yeah, cost per the employee. Sorry about that.
Right there.
Yeah, thank you. So this is the impact of opt-out or that cash in lieu benefit. So we're going to walk you through the fixed fees that we currently pay on an employee basis. So we have composite, so it's not single and family, it's a composite rate. But we have administration cost on an annual basis per employee at that $355. Stop loss premiums, it's at $7,399. Transplant premiums at that $214. And then giving us a total employee annual fixed cost of just almost $8,000. So around the discussion of cash in lieu or opt-out payments, you know, if we're going to expand that, you know, we're paying $8,000. If we can get members and their dependents to move off the plan, there's potential for savings there. This doesn't take into any account, you know, the claims that we pay for the individuals, nor will we really know the impact of that. But looking at this and just talking with Jeff and Rachel, there are opportunities to expand the opt-out program to the employees and see some savings. Bless you.
Okay, that's it, right, Tim?
That's it.
Okay, what we would need is a motion. Go ahead, Supervisor Cook.
Just one quick question. So when you're talking fully insured, do you have what it would cost us per employee if we were a fully insured county versus the stop loss at, what are we, 23,559?
Yeah. I would say if you added it in, I bet if we could probably add 30% to that.
Okay. So essentially, we're saving 30% under this versus a fully insured plan. Thank you.
Based upon what I'm seeing in the fully insured market, I mean, the average increase in the fully insured world is 25%. I've got two private sector companies. One got a 53, another one got a 73% increase. So self-funded is the wave of the future, and you guys made the leap, and it's been successful. It's not perfect. I think it requires a lot of, you know, kind of management of it, and we work with, you know, Jeff and Rachel on a monthly basis to monitor this program, and we're bringing savings ideas and just, you know, always trying to have a mindset of continuous improvement and trying to engage members. I think there were a couple slides in there on pharmacy. I think I talked about that in May. And we're going to explore and put those programs in place. It's not going to be mandatory, but we can source medications through Canada. We can get them directly from fulfillment places here in the United States that can save money. And there's potentially, you know, a couple $100,000 of savings around high-cost medication, and then using efficiencies of just buying generics in from a place that gets them in bulk and passes on the savings, you know, entities like yourself.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the part that goes unnoticed or missed by the public and sometimes the board is that the employees themselves have a much larger deductible and they have more skin in the game under this plan than a fully insured plan.
Well, I would say compared to the other groups that I work with, I think the deductible's higher, you know, and they've got some skin in the game. Now, their premiums that they're paying on contributions are much lower. So, you know, it's, you know, in the grand scheme of things, when you ask employees, would you rather have more take-home pay or would you rather have, you know, lower out-of-pockets? Well, I guess that's to each his own. I see most times when we do surveys, people like to have more take-home pay and they can then manage their own health care. I think the HealthJoy app has helped immensely because it allowed people to access healthcare, navigate healthcare, and to control that out-of-pocket because they're getting steered to where it's most efficient, not only for the plan, but for themselves personally.
Supervisor Banks?
Now, the federal government just passed a resolution on... The federal government just passed resolution on capping some medication and allowing us or people to negotiate with Canada. Are you seeing any effect of that in the future? I think diabetes drugs was going to be capped, all drugs at a certain amount. You know, what impact would that have?
Well, I mean, The programs that we're talking about putting in place bring about a 50% savings when you import them from Canada. So if that was the case and the government was going to get involved and cap those programs at the employer level, it would have an impact. But I just haven't seen, it's recently passed, so we're kind of in the unknown of how that will work. But there are companies that do this and work with employers and employees to access that.
And wasn't that more in fact at like 2025 and also
Right,
for
that's what I was
Medicare
going to say. I
recipients?
think it's being phased in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, if there's no further questions, I'd entertain a motion that we take the Horton recommendations and renew those with FOIA. Well, and all, Supervisor Heller and seconded by Supervisor Taxtell. Any further questions? Not all those in favor of these renewals indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Okay, that motion is carried. Thank you, Tim. Did a good job. Item number 10, 2023 budget. You're up, Jeff.
Jody's first.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to start out by going through the budget publication. Now, this is something, once the executive committee recommends a budget, then we have to publish it in all 5 of the county newspapers. The format, it looks a little bit different than our normal budget documents, and that's because this follows state statutes as far as the format. So going down, looking at the general fund, we're proposing the general fund budget of $22,948,858, which is 5.96% increase from last year. Looking at with this, it's got property tax levy of $7,650,568. We have, different the different functions of revenues coming in. Sales tax applied, $4,250,000. Excess fund balance for sales tax of $1,095,000 that we've carried over from previous years. This also includes $30,000 of jail assessments. Out-of-county prisoner revenue from 2021 of $477,360. Fund balance applied of $1,225,000, and then the use of assigned fund balances. These are our carryover accounts for specific projects of $1,249,000. Going down, we have fund balance in the general fund, amounts committed, assigned, and non-spendable. 2021 ended up at $13,926,475. Projected at year end is $17,947,908. The increase is mostly made up of those ARPA dollars that we've been holding that we will be expending over the next few years. Unassigned fund balances as of the end of 2021 was $9,865,405. Estimated at the end of this year based on revenues and expenditures, just the current fluctuations and spending that we've had, estimating $10,619,185. Going down to the other funds, we have special revenue funds, debt service, capital projects, the internal service funds, which is the highway fund along with the health insurance fund, and then the enterprise fund is the waste energy fund. So we have our estimated fund balances, factoring in the budgeted revenues and expenditures, and then our estimated fund balance at the end of 2023. This is looking going with a property tax levy of $21,797,780. And we'll be going into that in our regular budget documents in just a few minutes. Valuation has not changed from when you've seen it before. And also the mill rates, looking at a mill rate of $3.93 per thousand. Recycling special charge would stay the same at $32 per improved parcel. The 2023 budget includes 1 new full-time position in the Sheriff's Department, 3 new full-time positions in DHHS, 1 position in the ADRC from part-time to full-time, and then 4 LTE positions, 2 full-time positions in the Highway Department. And we'll be going into this further with regular budget documents. Is there any questions?
Yes, Jody, I have just one quick question. So if, depending upon where we go with this highway building and the overage, what fund will that be taken out of?
If you look at the internal service fund here, it would be part of this estimated fund balance. Of the 16 million, about 3.1 million of that is actually health insurance. It's right around 11 or 12 million. That would be the highway portion, so it would be coming out of there.
And is that reflected in the 2023 budget?
No, because it's not a budget item, and that's separate from the budget.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I see at the bottom it says 3 new positions in the DHSS. This is the health department?
Yes, that would be the 2 CCS positions, and then that 3rd position that's used with the opioid dollars.
As I recall, we only approved 1.5, or 1 and 1 part-time.
Both of those CCS positions are full-time positions. One of those positions wouldn't start until July 1st. But then in the year 2024, I mean, it would be considered a full-time position. It's just it wouldn't start right at the first of the year.
And Jody, for clarification, is the Sheriff Department FTE,
that would be the school
liaison?
Yes.
And if that is that approved then, is that going to go through?
It was recommended by executive.
Right.
So now it'll stay until after the public hearing. At this point, it was recommended,
Right,
so.
but do we know if we're going to have a commitment from?
No, they would, if the school and the town does not fully fund it, the position will not be there. Both have to do it.
Very good, thank you.
Supervisor Taxtall, did you have a question? Okay,
It's
thank
kind
you.
of self-explanatory. I was just pointing out the long-term debt service in 2021 was 56 cents versus the new one with the highway department would be 28. So our long-term service debt would be cut in half because we paid off the Justice Center and all that. So
Correct.
that is going to be half of what it used to be with the new highway department.
Correct.
Although we're talking about the acid gas at 4 million and anyway.
Correct. The debt service will go down about $900,000, including the debt on the new highway department, but not including the debt on the waste energy plant. And what it's critical to point out, please highlight the 2.80% under the levy. You'll see that the levy proposed actually drops the hard levy 2.8% and drops the mill rate, about 11% operating. So it's a big drop both in hard dollars and in percentage as far as it looks at mill rate. You want me to continue?
Sure, keep going.
All right. So first of all, Jody, thank you for all your hard work, and the department heads. Jody's always really great to work with. She puts up with some of my crazy ideas like the 300,000 one I dreamed up. That was a bad one. So this is a visualization of what the county finances look like as it proposed and put in the published budget. You'll see that we broke this down. Jody's actually broke this down. You'll see that the numbers don't add up because how do you run a budget on 72.6 million and only tax 21.7? Well, the difference is public charges for service, grants and aids, and other things make up the difference. What's typical in Barron County is our property tax runs about 31 to 33% of the total revenue source of the county. The balance comes back from grants and aids, charges for services, things like that. So this is pretty typical for Barron County. SmartAsset.com, we're the fifth lowest taxed overall tax property state or lowest property county in the state of Wisconsin. The next one is what the executive recommended. You can see that we start out with total expenditures. So that gives you an idea of where the levy would be if we didn't have things to apply to the levy to bring it down to $21,164,743. So general fund revenue is automatically applied off the levy. It's just the way it works by governmental accounting standards in the state statutes. So we're putting 4.2 million. That's our estimated sales tax collections in 2023. We're taking 1/3 of fund balance at $1,095,000 of accumulated sales tax to reduce the levy. So that gets your 5.2 million reduction in the levy, and you have 30,000 for the jail assessment. You'll see that we're putting the 477,360 of out-of-county prisoner revenue against the operating levy, and that's just on the way we're doing that because of the way the levy limits work. The 1.2 million of general fund balance applied is to keep us at 31% of fund balance. We need to maintain between 25% and 33% of fund balance at all times because of the bonds that we have outstanding. When we drop below 25%, that's a material event. We are required to notify our bondholders. As I notified the county board after Tuesday's committee meeting, what we're facing, what's going on with the highway department is not a material event. Both sides, the financial advisors and our auditors said, thank you very much. We have the financial wherewithal to do that. You'll see then that the recommendation is to reduce the levy $627,836. I've covered that. You know about the 1.226%. We can raise the levy $238,000. That's our hard levy. That leaves us $2,383 that we're under the projected to be under the levy limit as we begin to talk about the budget for 2024. So through the years, we actually started out somewhere near $1 million under the hard levy, and through the years, as prices have went up and the net new construction is not, we've slowly dug into that. So we're going to be facing that next year. We talked about how the equalized value went up 14.9%, resulting in the reduction in the mill rate. Talked about the $32 for recycling, which is about average for the state of Wisconsin. We're the only county in the state that does a per parcel assessment in the way that we do it. The next spreadsheet lays out the personnel changes. Those that are long-term county board members know, as I've said many times, the first one is not surprising. We knew that a person was going to be retiring. Jen Jaco has talked about this at least 3 years in a row, that this would be coming. The Health and Human Services ones, those are mandatory, imposed upon us by the state of Wisconsin. As we talk about each year, when we talk total cost, we price those at total cost because we always assume the employee is going to be hired with a family plan. And so that's where that's at. The co-responder, $57,665, is not on the tax levy. We will be using the opioid settlement over the period of years to fund that position. Getting down to the highway operations, this was one that the highway committee talked about extensively. The reason that is not on the levy is we will hire less LTEs in the summer to cover those. The sheriff, that's self-explanatory. The $120,961 is because that position, that's what it would cost with the car and all of the accoutrements to fund that position. So those are the personnel requests. Yes, I would be much more comfortable. Chris has work to do to have contracts, long-term contracts in our hands before November 7th. And I believe that next week, the Law Enforcement Committee is going to take this up as well. So we need to have this. I will mention, it is not on here. We have been approached by another county to provide them with a supervisory position. That is in the works. I'm not going to put that in the budget. I'll bring that back for a 2/3 vote, but we have another county that would like us to hire the employee. They would be our employee. They would pay 85% of the cost, but only have to do 75% of their work there. So we'd get a 10% bump. It's something we're working on. More to come on that. We do share employees with other counties because they save money and we save money. So it's not unusual. Contingency fund. Questions so far? Yes, Diane.
Just a statement, I guess. As we were discussing these positions in the health department, it was stated that we needed one position immediately for them to have the correct caseload. The other position that we decided to put in at halfway through the year is not needed yet. They are anticipating that it's needed, but we don't know that yet. So that is one of the reasons that I did not vote for this budget to pass the DHS. That I don't believe that second position is needed at this time, but it's put in the budget.
Other questions?
Gary's got one.
Gary?
Yeah, I've asked for several years that we had a couple pie graphs, and I've always asked for a pie graph of the total property taxes and how they're divided out. And most people, I had one call, and the guy thought that the county portion of the taxes was 40 to 45%. Well, we collect all the taxes for the municipalities, townships, and schools, but the actual portion of your total property tax is about 18, the county's portion is about 18% or 18 cents on the dollar, or about that, isn't it right, Jody?
That's correct. I'm going to produce, I already have that done, and you've taken away all my good work for the public hearing. Thanks a lot, Gary. Yeah, that's correct.
Take the wind out of your sails.
If you take the total property tax levy for all the municipalities in Barron County and the county, you add them all up, they're within a percent. Those two together are within a percent of the total levy for the schools. And I send out that mill rate. It's pretty obvious. We have a 398 mill rate. The schools have a 10. It's pretty obvious where your taxes are going. Okay. Contingency fund. I wish we had a lot more money in contingency, but we don't. Question, John.
Give us a little review on the sales tax. We get 5.5% over 5.5 million, I think you stated.
5.8, yep.
And that goes directly to reduce property taxes.
That's correct.
So it's wise for Barron County people to shop in Barron County because we get the money, right?
Correct. And there's also been a bump when the 2022 Attorney General sued and won that any business that transports into the county, we get the sales tax from online too. That's been a big bump. So that's one of the jumps that you have. Yeah. So when we're a county that goes to 70 or 80,000 in the summertime, and the guys coming up next can certainly tell you almost to the day of when the cabins open and when the cabins close, just on the amount of garbage that we get, but that also bumps up our sales tax. So our mill rate and our tax would be up about 25% higher if it wasn't for the sales tax.
So our property values are increasing, our sales taxes are increasing. Those are positive statements then, right?
Correct. Those are positive things that reduce the mill rate, which is a reduction in the percentage of tax paid to the county. The percentage drops. And in this case, the percentage and the hard dollar dropped this year.
Okay.
All right. Going on, other questions? Contingency fund. Just go through this. We talk about this. Contingency, that's just purely to have a contingency. When I started here over 22 years ago, that number would have been $300,000 or $400,000 or $500,000. Back many years ago, there was a banker on this board by the name of Niles Ellefson that said no business creates a budget without a contingency. Prior to that, the county board never had a contingency fund. Interesting. Employee payouts, retirements, and resignations, we do that because we're an employer over 250 and 250 FTEs, and people can change, and we do that. Health insurance is also qualifying adjustments. You'll see we've taken into the health insurance increases at 9% and a 4% increase for COLA. Position placement and training, that came directly from the department heads. They asked if they could have money as they see people retire. We're going to talk about this at executive, but the last retirements that we faced, well, I did a little thing for the executive committee. Of the 20 people who are in supervisory positions, not including program managers, by the year 2028, all of them will be gone. There'll be over 400 years of institutional knowledge will leave. The last retirements that we had in the last month was over 132 years of institutional knowledge walked out the door. So that's why we need that. Pro roll call training is something that this board has talked about and we've looked about. Our groundwater study is what we owe in that 2 years. $60,000 is projected what we owe to UW Stevens Point. FBI Academy training, that's for our costs, and I believe it's gratuitous. There's no charge from the FBI. 3,338 parishes, boroughs, city counties, and we got it for free, so it says a lot. Snowmobile, that's just seed money if we start an alliance, and then beaver control, which we all know about, that if you're on the property committee, that takes care of what goes on in Tono, outside of Hagen. No charge, Patty. All right, here in on this one on fund balance, Jody just breaks down where we're at on the 31% for fund balance, and I explained why we need to maintain it. Getting into the details, I'm not going to go through this line by line unless you want to.
No.
I do want to point out, however, that when you look at our budget and you get into the expenditures, when you see under the column number, you get under column number, sorry, I'm going to flip one more page. You get under column number 6 and 7. See, the non-levy request is where we get the funding. The levy request is what adds up to what goes on the property tax levy. And if you add those two together, that's what executive recommends. So Jody's done a real good job. This really sets and is really just where it's at until the public hearing. And then after you so choose, after the public hearing, you can vote up or down to pass the budget. So again, any questions for me?
There's no
Jeff,
motion at this time.
Jeff, Gary talked about, the optics of the pie chart. When we look at the proposed budget, it would be nice if it also gave me a % increase. Like, for example, I punched them out. I mean, the Sheriff Department, 9.36.
Yep.
DHS, 9.27.
Can you add that? He's asking for a column over here that would be the percentage.
Yep, I can
Percentage
work on
over
that.
the prior year.
Okay.
We can do that. Do that on revenues and expenses both. Do it on revenues as well. And we'll have more pie charts when we do the public hearing. We
Right.
have more pie charts.
It's just a budget at a glance.
Yes.
Yep, thank
Yep.
you.
Yep. Other questions? Yes, Diane.
Are you going to go through the expenditures as well, or?
Do you want to go through them line by line?
No, I just had a question. So on the bottom of page 11, it says revenues are total, if I'm reading this right, is about 64 million. Bottom of 17 says our expenditures are 72 million. Is that correct?
Yep. The difference could be sales tax applied or
Of the revenues,
Yes.
between the revenues
And
and the
expenses.
expenditures. Yes, it's not all of the tax levy is listed in there. The general fund tax levy is not listed in either one of these. Let's see, sales tax is not part of that. I can get a list for you of the difference.
Because this looks like we're operating at a negative.
and we're not. Good pickup. We'll take care of that. Got it? Got it?
Yes.
So those are
Yes, I
two things
mean,
will change.
all of the numbers, I mean, the revenues and the expenditures, the way that this is set up, and these spreadsheets are set up by state statute. They all come together in the summary tax allocation. And so that's where the difference is. If you look there, that's where everything gets pulled into.
That's all I have.
Do you want them to do the presentation before we do the motions?
What now?
The next one, acid gas, you want them to talk before we do the motions?
Yes. Yeah. We don't need any motions on this. This
Right,
is just
right,
information.
All right, Andy, you're up. Brent at me, geez, sorry. You got a promotion, Andy.
Good evening. My name is Brent Bond. I'm the plant director at Barron County Waste Energy and Recycling. I have a few of my team members with me tonight sitting behind me. I have Andy Hansen, the assistant manager. Dave Jones, you heard from him during public comment. He's the maintenance supervisor. We've got Mark. He's our very talented plant operator. And then we've got Ray. Everybody knows Ray. He's the former plant manager. Anyway. I'm also joined tonight by Kevin Christensen from FOTH. He is a lead environmental engineer who has been helping us through deciding whether or not we want to move forward with this project. Back in 2018, we stood before this board and I gave a presentation and told you that Waste Energy needed 4 major upgrades in order to keep going. We've completed 3 of those 4 major upgrades in-house. We've put $1.6 million in capital improvements back into the facility and $2.9 million in capital and fixed assets back into the facility from our own operating revenues. You have 2 resolutions before you tonight, and number 11 is to authorize borrowing $4 million to pay for the acid gas removal system, and number 12 is authorizing construction of the new acid gas removal system itself. And so I gave this, I'm going to give kind of the same thing that I gave to executive committee. I'm just going to hit on some high points here, though, just to save some time. An acid gas removal system, you're asking, what is an acid gas removal system? And, you know, waste energy is very complex. There's a lot of moving parts in the waste energy facility, but I'll boil it down to 4 major components. Those components being the furnaces, which is where the garbage is being burned, the boilers, which is where we convert that heat energy into steam energy, the acid gas removal system, which is basically the emission control for this facility. It controls all the emissions that are exiting our flue gas stack, and then the ID fans. And the ID fans are just basically very large fans that pull gas through the system. They're like the lungs of the incinerator, and the acid gas removal system would be like the liver of the incinerator. We only have 1, so not doing something with the acid gas removal system would mean that we would have to shut the entire facility down. It's not a redundant system. It's a very large system, and there's only 1 of them. And we need to replace our current system because the system that we have is very inefficient, and it is going to fail in the near future. And on near future, I say probably 2 to 3 years. And my team is very talented, and we are born and bred Waste Energy, so we will keep the plant going regardless of what happens tonight. But it would be a step in the wrong direction. And so the other reasons why we need to replace this system is because it's, like I said, it's very inefficient. We're getting approximately 20% of acid gas removal efficiency out of our current system. And the system that we are proposing is a 90% removal efficiency rate. Also, we would like to go above 100 tons per day. So right now we're currently permitted to burn 100 tons of municipal solid waste per day. And we would like to go above that. And the next step above that is to go to 150 tons per day. But in order to do that, the EPA and the DNR would reclassify us as a new pollutant, a new, I'm forgetting the word, a new source. So we would be a new source, even though we're existing and we were, commissioned in 1986, because we're replacing such a large piece of equipment and because we are increasing our permitted capacity, we would now become a new source. And so we would have to follow what's called New Source Performance Standards, NSPS. NSPS was, or is, a part of the Clean Air Act that was introduced back in the 1970s, and basically, as you can imagine, it's a very thick rule, a lot of words there, but basically what it would do to Barron County Waste Energy is it would cut our emission limits in half. So if we're allowed to emit 100 ppm of something right now, if we went to NSPS, we'd only be allowed to emit 50 ppm of something. The system that we have proposed is designed to 150 tons per day. And so we need, so in order for us to go above 100 tons a day, we need to put a system in that can handle the new NSPS limits. As soon as we step over 100 tons per day, we would have to follow NSPS limits. And so this system would be designed to do that. We started the process back in July 6th. We published an RFP, and we asked bidders to design and propose a system that would work for our facility. We received 2 bids. One of them was from Babcock Power. This was a budgetary price of $11,333,000. Budgetary. We also received a bid from Air Clean Energy at a fixed price, not to exceed $3,935,300. Since this was passed at the Solid Waste Board meeting and it was passed at the Executive Committee, there's been a slight change. I know you guys are gonna love to hear this. There's been a slight change to that total number. And the reason being is initially The bid from Air Clean Energy only had one ID fan on it. And we need to have redundancy. If something happens to one ID fan and that's all we have, the entire plant shuts down. So we asked them to rebid it at 2 fans that are rated for 50% capacity. This way, if one fan needs to go down for maintenance or should something happen to it, we're still able to run the plant. Now keep in mind, this system's designed for 150 tons a day. So 50% of that is still 75 tons a day for us. So this is basically, 2/3 of our current operating capacity. And so the new price, which does not affect what I'm gonna ask to borrow, the new price, fixed price, is $4,118,323. $118,000 more than the $4 million that was initially discussed during solid waste and during executive. The $118,000 will fall completely on the waste energy budget. We will have funds available by this time next year, I should say August next year, to pay for any additions above and beyond what is asked of the $4 million. So I just want to be clear on that. I have 2 spreadsheets that I designed or that we came up with. I'm not gonna have Jody bring them up unless you guys actually want to dive down into them. We can. Basically, the 2 spreadsheets tell us whether or not the system can pay for itself just solely based on increasing our tonnage. And it says that the system can. I am completely confident that we could pay at least $175,000 back to the general fund every year, and I am very confident that most years we'll be able to do at least twice that amount, probably more. So that means I'm anticipating most years we should be able to pay, depending on our throughput and the amount of tons that we bring in, I'm anticipating us being able to pay somewhere around $300,000 a year back towards this system. The reason why the payback is only set up at $175,000 is because things in the waste energy world fail and need to be replaced. Boilers need to be replaced, fans, pumps, you name it. Everything's wearing and tearing there. And so there's gonna be years when we're gonna have to when we're not gonna be able to do $300,000 or $400,000 back. We're gonna have to save that in order to do some more major upgrades or major repairs at the plant. So this is why, and I thank Jeff for this is why that we put our payback at $175,000. And we plan and fully plan to pay every cent of this back. And so to summarize, I guess, what them spreadsheets say, we would have the $175,000 every year to pay this back, and most years we should have at least twice that. Do you want to go into the spreadsheets or?
No.
Okay. We dove into them pretty deep at the executive and the solid waste committee, and they say that going above 100 tons a day is the way to go. For every 5 tons a day more is substantially more, and the net profit of going to 110 tons a day is somewhere in excess of $300,000 net profit.
I mean, this is good news that what Brent's saying is we can buy this piece of equipment and get it paid back. I mean, I think it's critical. We've been down that road about the waste energy plant not being around anymore. And that's going to happen if we don't fix this acid gas removal system. So I think it's imperative that we do borrow the money and that we do install this new acid gas retrieval system. Supervisor Cook?
Mr. Chair, I will move that we approve the resolution to move forward on the acid gas.
We actually have to do the borrowing first.
We're borrowing first, yes,
okay.
the borrowing.
So, okay, go ahead.
Our financial advisor, Sean Lentz, recommended that we use the state trust fund. We save about $50,000 over the life of the loan versus going out to the public market.
And we get to
higher interest rate, but when you put in your bond cost, your bonding counsel costs, and your issuance costs, it pushes it more in the direction of using the state trust fund. Plus, you get a 30-day window every March if you want to prepay, if you have more, and it's a fixed rate, and they give about $186,677 back to the public libraries every year in Barron County.
Okay, so, Greg?
I did have a little bit, if I could,
Okay.
Kevin here has prepared some words that he'd like to say in kind of speaking towards this upgrade, and if I could, I'd like the board to listen to him for.
Sure.
Can we get a second first on that motion?
Supervisor Rogers has got a second to that. Okay, go ahead.
Mike.
Bill, do you have your mic on?
We've always had a huge expenditure. Of course, you addressed the water treatment system, but the cost of the lime and the cost of the excess ash that we're going to save, just touch on that briefly, would you?
So with our current system being so inefficient, we are using only 20% of the lime that we put into our flue gas to control the acid gases. We're only using 20% of that lime. This system would theoretically use 90% of that lime. So the cost savings there is substantial. After the lime goes through the flue gas system, then it is dumped basically or mixed into our bottom ash. And the lime is it's dry, so it's very hygroscopic. It sucks up a lot of water. And so what we end up doing is this lime, sometimes to the tune of like 150 pounds an hour, is going into our bottom ash and sucking up all the water, and then we're paying for that water to dispose of that at the landfill. So the cost savings on the lime usage and the bottom ash disposal is immense. It is, not to mention the fact that the revenue increase in going above 100 tons a day is also substantial. And so this system, I should note, is guaranteed to meet half the emission limits that we currently produce, or that we are currently limited for. It's going to meet half of those limits at 1.5 times the % of what we normally run.
Okay, Supervisor Rogers?
Where is the additional garbage going to come from? I'd kind of like to get that pinned down, and is there a possibility that any of it's going to come from the city of Rice Lake?
I hope so. I hope so. I think that there is a possibility. That's a separate subject right now in the flow control subject, if you will. I'm hoping to get the city of Rice Lake's waste. We currently do not that I'm aware of anyway. But there is other contingencies I have in place that a lot of industries right now want to become landfill free. Ray used to get many calls, and I've gotten many calls from industries like Nestle. There's multiple industries in Turtle Lake. There is, believe it or not, Covanta is a huge waste to energy business that operates their own waste to energy facilities, but they don't have any in our area. So they've actually called me and asked if they can send some of their customers to us. So a lot of businesses want to become landfill free, and I am, I'm confident from based on what I've seen in the recent past that we can go above 100 tons a day with the equipment that we have. I'm confident we can be at 110 tons a day with the equipment we have, and I'm confident that we can already get that waste in. I have fish on the line, so to speak, of already of to the tune of maybe 3 tons a day, all the way up to maybe 10 tons a day more that want to come in.
Supervisor Turcott?
Just with such a huge discrepancy between your bids, are you truly comfortable with the lower bid that?
I am. And the reason why I'm comfortable with it is because of the contractual documents we'll have in place, the construction documents that we'll have in place to hold this this vendor accountable. And that's one of the, it's a great question, and it's going to be asked, so I'm just going to address it. What do we do? What are we going to do to prevent us from going over budget? And so the first answer to that is it's a firm fixed cost that we will shore up with contractual documents that hold this vendor to that. Now, that being said, I know that things happen. So we have $76,000 of other redundant systems that are built into this that we can remove immediately if we need to, and we can purchase them and install them at a later date. Another caveat to this is the entire thing will be built off-site at first, and then it'll be brought on-site and erected without affecting the operation of the waste energy plant. So it's going to be a plug-and-play type equipment. I mean, it's massive equipment, but It's only going to, we're projecting roughly about a week that we're going to have to shut the entire facility down, plug this thing in, and then turn it back on. So my kind of outlook on this is that if things start going awry, we don't have to continue with it to continue operations of the plant. The plant will still continue operating. We can pause, we can find out what's going on, and we can get to the bottom of it. The only hang up here, and I say hang up because I'm pessimistic, but the only hang up here is after we turn the system on. Once we cut out the ductworks and hook this system up and turn it on, if it doesn't work, then we might have a problem. So there's many factors that we have built into this, and that is one of them is that we're going to have it designed so that we can, if this system doesn't work, we can disconnect it and hook our system back up and turn the plant back on. There's also going to be stipulations laid out in the contract that says if it doesn't work, they're going to pay us $500 an hour until they get it working. So there's a lot of contractual language that's going to be brought out with this, but we are going to hold them accountable. And if it doesn't work, then they pay us because it doesn't work until they get it fixed.
Supervisor Moen?
Do you foresee any changes in revenue from steam and energy production in the future?
Yeah, that's another excellent question. I don't foresee any changes immediately in the steam. The steam contract that we have for Saputo goes out another 4 years, I believe. And that price is, we hold just under the amount of what natural gas normally is. Saputo is a huge corporation. It's the largest blue cheese manufacturer in the world, sitting right next door to us, right here in lovely Barron County. We supply them with all their steam, and we have a great relationship with them. You'll see in your packet that they did send us a letter of approval, a letter of support, if you will, towards this project. So the power market is a little bit different in other words. And so the other spreadsheet that I didn't talk about is basically our full budget spreadsheet. And what I did is took a worst case scenario, basically selling our power for dirt cheap, and put that into the spreadsheet to see if we can still make it. And the spreadsheet still comes out saying that we can remain viable. The power market right now is going to be up and down. It's looking like it's going to be good next year. However, with renewable energy and things like that constantly changing, it's hard for me to say at that point. But I have budgeted for worst case scenario.
Supervisor Cook?
And you've touched on this, and we talked about it in the executive committee in terms of having performance standards and measures met, and if they don't, there's consequences for that. Who's going to be the program or program manager or project manager on this job?
Well, I'm hoping to partner with FOF Environmental and Infrastructure on that one. That has not yet fully been determined. This project's a little bit different than the other projects that you're faced with. It's smaller in terms of I guess obviously the money, but it's probably more complex. But to us and to our team, it's not as complex. So it's going to be easy for me and my team to manage the step-by-step, day-to-day operations or construction of this project. We deal with this type of stuff every day. This mechanical type, the ductwork, the cyclones, bag houses, every day we deal with this. And so my intent is to watch it step by step. If Air Clean, they have a proposed payments term schedule, and if they say they want some money for something, I want to see it. We want the equipment either in-house or standing up, and if it's not, then we're not going to pay.
$4 million is $4 million.
$4 million, $4 million.
Thank you.
Supervisor Taxtell?
Yeah, under Ray's management, we got pinched by the feds one time. Anyway, this the exhaust or whatever, the air quality, does this address that air quality issue that we had a couple of years ago?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
This is
not picking on Ray or anything.
No, well, that's okay.
Yes, he is.
Yeah. This is replacing the old muffler on your old beat up car with a brand new state-of-the-art catalytic converter emission control system.
Okay. Supervisor Vaughn?
I see in the proposed budget that there is revenues projected for waste to energy of 3.6 million, but we're paying back 175,000. Can you tell me what the rest of that revenue goes for?
Yeah, operating expenses. So we spend roughly, I don't have the numbers right in front of me. I could pull that actually can pull that spreadsheet up. So one of our biggest expenses obviously is staffing. But, so, you know, we were projecting about $1.1 million in salaries. The repair and maintenance equipment, which is another big one, is about $400,000. We put $275 to $375,000 back into the facility every year in repair and maintenance equipment, just to maintain the equipment and keep it running.
Diane, you could request the waste energy recycling and the energy part from Jody at any time, and they'll have all that stuff.
Did I answer your question? I'm sorry.
Supervisor Olson?
This might be maybe for Jody or Jeff, but Brent talked about contributing $175,000 towards debt service, maybe double that. What are you looking at for debt service on this over the course of the term?
Can you project that? Can you just project that? Do you have that spreadsheet? You had it for exec and.
I believe it's 343,000.
Yeah, about
That-
340,
that would-
350.
Approximately, yeah.
That would be for 20 years. If we go with 15 years, you're going to save about $629,000. And the payments would be about $442,000 a year.
And the resolution is projected 15 years.
But going back to Supervisor Vaughn's comment, we have $12 million out there, and 25 years is the depreciation life out there. So we have to put $480,000 of fixed assets back into this place every year just to keep it maintained where it's at. This is a bit different in that this will go longer than 25 years, but I always tell everybody that because they understand the solid waste is different. It's like the highway department. If we're not plowing in $500,000 every year and 1 year we decide to skip, it's not $1 million on year 3. It's $1.5 million or $2 million on year 3 because we've gotten behind. So that's a really important thing to talk about. This budget's different than the other ones is they have to budget for capital improvements. Make sense?
All of this revenue then goes back into waste energy.
Correct. We are not projecting any debt service payments for 2023 because we don't have to make the first debt service payment till 2024. And these guys told the Solid Waste Board and the executive for 2023, this won't go in till October of 2023. We don't know what we'll have for any debt service reduction in 2024. You've got to get them a year to get up and running and start saving money. But then in 2025, that's when you should start see them contributing to the debt levy.
And I think how we would set it up is, very similar when we had the Justice Center debt. We actually put that out-of-county prisoner revenue to offset it and the jail assessment. So like what we would collect in the previous year, we would put towards it in the next budget year. And so as they would collect their revenue, then what we would do is in the next year, we would apply that to it, reducing the levy.
Did you want your representative from Foles to speak?
I think it's beneficial, yeah, if I could take up
sure.
just a little bit more of your time, if we could.
Well, hello, everyone. I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to provide a whole lot more information because Brent was pretty thorough. My name's Kevin Christensen. I'm with Foth Infrastructure and Environment. I'm a licensed professional engineer and have been for over 20 years. Been working in the environmental world with solid waste and wastewater for in excess of 25. Excuse me. A little bit about Foth. We're over an 80-year-old company. We have 28 offices nationwide, over 600 employees. And we work with municipal industrial clients in a lot of different areas. So this is, I've had the pleasure of working with Brent and Andy over the last few months to help put together the RFP document. And then scrutinized the bids as they came in. Relative to the Air Clean's proposal, they are proposing to install a new dry fluidized bed scrubber, a new fabric filter system or baghouse, and a new induced draft fan system. It will use hydrated lime to address the sulfur dioxide and hydrochloride concentrations present in the gas and create a solid material that drops out into the waste ash component. The new system has a reagent recycling system so that any unreacted material is recycled into the process, which is a lot more efficient than the existing system. The existing system is just a single pass lime, and Brent had explained before that the unreacted material drops into the fly ash, into the ash stream, and is wasted material. So the benefit of this system is that it should use less lime over time to do a better job on reducing the emissions of the incinerator unit. The other benefit to Air Clean's proposal is that they do have redundant systems as options, which will provide more reliability and resiliency to the system operation, as well as modernizing the equipment. The electric motors should have a higher efficiency than what the existing units are. And I guess with that, all things considered, recommend that the board approve Air Clean's proposal or the expenditures to allow the waste energy facility to upgrade their acid gas emissions control system.
I just want to tell you too, because our aforementioned penalty that the EPA tried to levy on us, FOF was very instrumental in reducing that down to almost nothing. By their expertise was very beneficial to us.
Well, thank you.
Supervisor Anderson, do you have a question?
Not really a question, but at the conference that we were at in the Dells, the waste to energy was a nice presentation there. And I was standing around listening to what he was telling these other counties that were coming to him. And there was one guy that was a lobbyist for some place down south. And he actually said that it would be cheaper for his district to send their garbage here than to destroy it there. And so that would be another income for us. Is that correct? That other counties would bring their...
Brent?
I'm sorry, can you ask it again, please?
Yeah.
We would be able to source waste from other counties to ensure that we would have the quantity.
It's the transportation cost for them to get them here, but they'll figure that out. And if they,
Well, he said it would be cheaper to bring it here. And then what I was going to ask next was, would we have a program that we would let other counties know that, yes, we have the availability to do this, send them a letter or a little pamphlet or something to advertise that, yes, we're taking garbage.
I think that's a great idea. Absolutely. We can definitely venture down that road. First and foremost, we want to take care of Barron County though. So I would hope that we get Rice Lake's waste first, and all the industries in Rice Lake first and foremost for Barron County, and then maybe reach out to other counties.
Okay, people were impressed with them at the conference, so I heard good things.
Supervisor Cook?
Have you worked with Air Clean before?
I have not, no.
Okay.
And I have in a very, very small capacity. I worked with them in kind of looking at what type of system we should put in. I've met them many times. I have not actually had pleasure of putting my hands on their equipment though.
Supervisor Gores?
Yeah, I guess if you could, Mr. I can't remember your name now. But anyhow, address maybe what Mr. Turk out there had said there. Why is this system so much less money than the $11 million other project?
Well, I guess I don't have a real answer as to why there's a large discrepancy between the two, other than I feel that the Air Clean Energy proposal had more detail into it. than what the other proposal perhaps had. They provided a budgetary number where the air clean was a fixed price. So I believe that they understand the system. They understand the needs of the system and the increased capacity that the waste energy is looking for, and put together the homework to give a better price than just something that's budgetary.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Schradel?
Okay, I think Brent or somebody told me this one time that the other bidder, don't they deal with huge systems? And perhaps they just threw a flyer at us at a high price, and if we take it, fine. If we don't, that's no big deal for them. I don't know if that's true, but.
I think that might have something to do with it. Babcock Power deals with plants that are 10 to 100 times our size. This would be a very, very, in fact, this would be, you know, this wouldn't be in their wheelhouse, so to speak, to do a system this small.
Any further questions? If not, we got a motion on the floor that to borrow from the Board of Commissioners of Public Lands Estate Trust Fund loan for Barron County Waste to Energy Acid Gas Removal System for $4 million at 15-year amortization at 5.25%. And we'll need a 3/4 roll call vote for that to pass, which is 22 supervisors. You sit, yes?
All right, we are going to start with Pam Fall,
Yes.
Bill Schradel,
Yes.
Gary Taxtall,
Yes.
Jim Gores,
Yes.
Gary Nelson,
Yes.
Roberta Mosentine,
Yes.
Pete Olson,
Yes.
Kathy Krug,
Yes.
Carol Moen,
Yes.
Fran Langman,
Yes.
Louis Oki,
Yes.
Patty Anderson,
Yes.
Randy Cook, Jerry McRoberts, Marv Thompson,
Yes.
Bun Hansen,
Yes.
Stacy Wenzel is absent, Dana Heller,
Yes.
Bob Anderson,
Yes.
Stan Buchanan,
Yes.
Audrey Kuslik,
Yes.
Bill Efforts,
Yes.
Craig Turcott,
Yes.
Dale Heinecke,
Yes.
Bob Rogers,
Yes.
Diane Vaughn,
Yes.
John Banks,
Yes.
Terry Lee,
Yes.
Carolyn Bartlett.
Yes.
All right, that is 28 yes and 1 absent.
Okay, so that resolution passes. Item number 12, the resolution authorizing the installation of a new acid gas removal system at Barron County Waste to Energy Facility. Again, this will be a roll call, 2/3 vote, which is 20 supervisors. Motion by Supervisor Banks, seconded by Supervisor Bob Anderson. Is there any further discussion or questions regarding this? No, we'll take a roll call vote again.
All right, and we're starting with Bill Schradel,
Yes.
Gary Taxtall,
Yes.
Jim Gores,
Yes.
Gary Nelson,
Yes.
Roberta Mosentine,
Yes.
Pete Olson,
Yes.
Kathy Krug,
Yes.
Carol Moen,
Yes.
Fran Langman,
Yes.
Louis Oki,
Yes.
Patty Anderson, Randy Cook, Jerry McRoberts, Marv Thompson,
Yes.
Bun Hansen,
Yes.
Stacy Wenzel is absent, Dana Heller,
Yes.
Bob Anderson,
Yes.
Stan Buchanan,
Yes.
Audrey Kuslik,
Yes.
Bill Efforts,
Yes.
Craig Turcott,
Yes.
Dale Heinecke,
Yes.
Bob Rogers,
Yes.
Diane Vaughn,
Yes.
John Banks,
Yes.
Terry Lee,
Yes.
Carolyn Bartlett,
Yes.
Pam Fall,
Yes.
and that is 28 yes and 1 absent.
That resolution carries. Item number 13, resolution. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good job. Keep up the good work. 13, resolution supporting Operation Green Light for veterans. Motion by Supervisor Efforts, seconded by Supervisor Nelson. Any concerns or questions on that?
Can you explain that a little bit? Excuse me.
Jeff, can you?
Who asked the question?
Kathy.
Yeah, Kathy, this resolution came from the National Association of Counties, and I referred it to Scott Bukowski, and he sponsored it along with Gary Nelson, asked it to be put on, and it's for green lights to be burned continuously from November 6th or 7th through the 13th in honor of the veterans. So I got one light bulb. We did a pen drop, and Terry Lee got it. He was one of our veterans. So otherwise, there was green lights available through Amazon that we bought, and we gave them away so fast for people. I didn't have any for the board members. That's the whole story.
Thank you.
And if I may add a little to that, it basically is a resolution in support of federal legislation to provide funding for advocacy for veterans as they transition from active duty to civilian life. So there's a lot of programs the Veteran Service offices provide for, but advocacy, there's no funding for that. And this legislation, if they do it, would provide for that.
Okay. Any further questions?
November 6th to November 13th. And they asked that people put them on the outside of their house and keep them on continuously. The one I gave Supervisor Lee is just 3 amps, so it doesn't take any power. Pretty efficient.
Any further questions? Not all is in favor of supporting that resolution for Operation Greenlight for veterans, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Okay, that the resolution's carried. Item number 14, resolution authorizing the development of plans and costs for the rehab of the old sheriff's jail and administrative area at the government center for a Kitchen for Meals on Wheels program. And I believe that we need a 2/3 vote, and that actually is authorizing Supervisor or Director, Maintenance Director Steve Olson to proceed with securing accurate design and construction costs for the renovations of the old jail and administrative area. Motion by Supervisor Heller, second by Supervisor Hanson. Is there questions or concerns about going ahead with that? Supervisor Moen?
Question on page 67, there was a slight addition and error, like $500,000. Would there also be a change in the contingency, which is 7.5%? Should that be up to 116,000?
I'd say yes. You listen to that, Jeff? Yeah, I'd say yes.
Okay, thank you.
And we did indicate in the thing that, so let's say it's higher, they did authorize thinking it'd take $2 million to do it.
Mhm.
So that's a good catch, so Carol.
John is
Supervisor,
correcting me. We only need simple majority, right, John?
We're not spending, if this is just asking for bids, we're not spending
Need money. Okay.
I don't know that we would have to amend the budget.
Okay, so we'll go with Corp Council. It's a majority will do it.
Jeff, when does the rent, the place that the kitchen is right now, when does that, do they have to be out of there?
I don't believe they have a hard date. It's a pretty symbiotic, it's a pretty mutual relationship. I believe we can leave at any time.
So if this got pushed back, the projection was so many more being served within, was it 10 years or so?
Right.
So there's a possibility we could move this back if we're having problems paying for the
Highway shop.
Nope, 2 different funds of money. This is ARPA money. You could take excess ARPA money if things went for the highway department, but it's 2 different things. If you get solid bids on this, and talking to Steve, I believe you'd want to go forward because you'd want to lock these in because HVAC stuff is out now 24, 28 months to get it. I don't think we'd start on this till 2024.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions or concerns? Okay, if not, all those in favor of approving this resolution to authorize the development of plans and costs for the rehab of the old sheriff's jail and for a Kitchen for Meals on Wheels program, indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Okay, that resolution carries. Number 15, zoning ordinance amendment. I get a motion to approve that rezoning. Motion by Supervisor Thompson, seconded by Supervisor Heineke. Any questions or concerns on that? Not all those in favor of approving that rezoning indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Okay, that rezoning is carried. Item number 16, resolution, adoption of the Barron County Farmland Preservation Map amendment to the towns of Amenia, Maple Grove, Clint, and Turtle Lake for 2022, and I believe that's when they do the Ag 2 stuff and then farm preservation credits and stuff. So motion by Supervisor Cook, second by Supervisor Langman.
Is that supposed to be Town of Clinton?
Yes. Yep. The resolution's got it right.
As chairman, I would like that amended.
All right, all those in favor of approving that resolution indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by say no. That motion's carried. Item number 17, resolution, Barron County Lake Monitoring and Protection Network AIS grant application. And was that one was? Just majority, yeah, okay. Any, so moved by Supervisor Guzlik, seconded by Supervisor Heller. Any questions or concerns there? If not, all those in favor of approving that resolution indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. That motion's carried. Now, the next one, do we need the 2/3, Jeff, or not? Okay, 18, we don't? All right. Okay, number 18, the resolution supporting application for 2023 grant funds from the Wisconsin Department of Justice. Motion by Supervisor Mosentein, second by Supervisor Gores. Any questions on that resolution? If not, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. That motion's carried. Item number 19, resolution designated public safety answering point for Barron County. A motion to approve that. Motion by Supervisor Olson, second by Supervisor McRoberts. Any questions or concerns there? Not all those in favor of that resolution indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. That's motion, resolution is carried. Item number 20, resolution to rescind resolution 2022-34. That was that in-jail revenue, and that, do we need 2/3 there? We don't? Okay. The resolutions, I think, say that, but anyway. Motion by Supervisor Moen, second by Supervisor Cook. Any questions or concerns on that resolution? Not, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Okay, that motion's carried. Item number 21, resolution authorizing a 20-year lease agreement for the high-speed internet fiber to Barron County Sheriff's Department communication towers not to exceed $600,000.
Need 2/3 on this?
Okay. Motion by Supervisor Olson, second by Supervisor Turcott. Any questions or concerns? I believe we're using ARPA money for that. Supervisor Vaughn?
Just wondering if this is the same item that's on the bottom of the ARPA funding
Yes,
for 700,000.
yes. It should say 600,000. Good catch.
No, the ARPA one is 700,000 is what we budgeted for this project. This is going, when approved at 600,000, we'll have $100,000 that'll be available for something else. That's why it's done that way. And we're encumbering 600,000 with this. The other one was budgeting.
Okay, any more questions or concerns? If not, no, roll call vote. That's right. Jess, your turn.
Yep, this one's a roll call vote. So I'm going to start with Gary Taxtel,
Yes.
Jim Gores,
Yes.
Gary Nelson,
Yes.
Roberta Mosentein,
Yes.
Pete Olson,
Yes.
Kathy Krug,
Yes.
Carol Moen,
Yes.
Fran Langman,
Yes.
Louis Oki,
Yes.
Patty Anderson,
Yes.
Randy Cook,
Yes.
Jerry McRoberts, Marv Thompson,
Yes.
Von Hansen,
Yes.
Stacy Wenzel is absent, Dana Heller,
Yes.
Bob Anderson,
Yes.
Stan Buchanan,
Yes.
Audrey Kuslik,
Yes.
Bill Efforts,
Yes.
Craig Turcott,
Yes.
Dale Heineke,
Yes.
Bob Rogers,
Yes.
Diane Vaughn,
Yes.
John Banks,
Yes.
Terry Lee,
Yes.
Carolyn Bartlett,
Yes.
Pam Fall,
Yes.
and Bill Schradel.
Reluctantly, yes, my grandchildren will be paying for enough, but I suppose one more thing won't hurt them.
Okay, that resolution carries. Item number 22, resolution authorizing $80,975 American Rescue Plan Act funds for Stanley security upgrades to the Barron County Justice Center. And this, again, will require 2/3 vote. Motion by Supervisor Hanson, seconded by Supervisor Buchanan. All right, any questions or concerns on that? Okay, we'll have a roll call vote.
All right, and this time we're starting with Jim Gores,
Yes.
Gary Nelson,
Yes.
Roberta Mosentine,
Yes.
Pete Olson,
Yes.
Kathy Krug,
Yes.
Carol Moen,
Yes.
Fran Lingman,
Yes.
Louis Oki,
Yes.
Patty Anderson,
Yes.
Randy Cook,
Yes.
Jerry McRoberts,
Yes.
Marv Thompson,
Yes.
Bun Hansen,
Yes.
Stacy Wenzel is absent, Dana Heller,
Yes.
Bob Anderson,
Yes.
Stan Buchanan,
Yes.
Audrey Kuslik,
Yes.
Bill Efforts,
Yes.
Craig Turcott,
Yes.
Dale Heinecke,
Yes.
Bob Rogers,
Yes.
Diane Vaughn,
Yes.
John Banks,
Yes.
Terry Lee,
Yes.
Carolyn Bartlett,
Yes.
Pam Fall,
Yes.
Bill Schradel,
Once again, reluctantly, yes.
Gary Taxdell.
Yes.
That's 28 yes and 1 absent.
Okay, that resolution passes. Item number 23, American Rescue Plan Act. Jody provided one there with, Diane's comment was good, though. Item number 24, 2023 County Board meeting dates and times. I don't know if it went out. We did do that Survey Monkey. The majority of people wanted to keep them the same as this year. I was under the impression that the Jan, Feb, and March were 9 o'clock, but they weren't, so I'm out of luck. So this is the schedule we're gonna have unless somebody has any heartburn with it. It's on page number 91 of our packet.
Is there some guarantee that we'll always meet on these dates, or will they change like they did, I think, in August this year?
There's no guarantee. Okay, 25, report from our county administrator.
You need to prove these.
Oh, you got to make a motion for that? All right. Motion by Supervisor Olson, seconded by Supervisor Schradel. Any further discussion? Not all is in favor of approving those county board dates, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? I'd like to say no, but I won't. Okay, on that, so that those dates are passed. Item number 25, report from our county administrator.
Put in your packet the buckthorn that you approved back in April when some of you were first seated on the county board. Very successful. Ken Baronic did a great job. This has been sprayed. Things have been cleaned up. It's much more passable and inhabitable and much more safe for women when they're walking through that. I don't have a lot more other than to say it was a good partnership with Rotary, and they paid us actually up front. And now my understanding from our staff is they can go there and mow it with a lawnmower. So they're happy, we're happy. And if we can just train the birds not to eat buckthorn, we'll all really be happy. But we'll go on from there. That's what I have on that. And then I just have the one appointment to the Traffic Safety Commission.
Could I get a motion to appoint Hannah Mueller, Education Rep? Motion by Supervisor Efforts, seconded by Supervisor Mosentine. Any concerns? If not, all is in favor of approving her, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. That, she's appointed. Claims, petitions, correspondence? None, okay. Suggestions for future agenda items? Well, our next meeting is going to be strictly on the highway project on November 2nd at 5 p.m.
One,
Go ahead.
Supervisor, we just want to, when we get to the public hearing for the budget, we're going to have Keith Polzine. He wants to make a presentation on the improvements that are going to be funded and paid for out at the diagnostic lab here in Barron. That's something that Representative Armstrong worked really hard on and got pushed through, and that was quite an uphill battle. Many people in the Southland of this state don't understand what even a turkey is, so he's going to present on that. and then we'll do that. But yes, correct, on the 2nd at 5 PM, it'll be strictly on those two issues.
Okay.
The-
Supervised efforts?
The meeting for tomorrow, is that a per diem meeting or is?
The
mine-
1 o'clock meeting with WCA is a per diem $45 meeting.
Okay.
And so is the one on the 24th at 4:30.
At the highway tour, the highway shop on October 24th is also a per diem
diem.
meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
17th, excuse me.
Yeah, they're both county boards. Yeah, there would be 95s.
Oh,
Yep.
so they're both, all right, we just got a $50 raise. They're both 95.
Yeah, that's what I was-
Supervisor Olson has a question, Mr. Chairman.
I haven't seen it for a while.
We've had a gentleman from the public ask about the senior review, 2 meetings in a row. Can we get a response to that so we don't hear about it the next meeting?
Jen's responded, we're not a 501c3.
Well,
Yeah.
I guess I know the response, but
And it's a paper's decision, yes, I get it. But
At the WCA conference, I talked to the Wisconsin Newspaper Association. This is freedom of the press. The gentleman who owns the paper, he owns the press. He owns the press, he controls.
That's been communicated to Mr. Swenson?
I believe it has, yes. It's a voluntary subscription, it's a donation. He has the right to put in his paper what he wants.
Okay, anything else? By unanimous consent, we're adjourning at 9:34. Thank you, everybody.
I put 9:35.
Yeah.
I told Sally, I said she's gonna be a late one.